What an awesome intro. Someone spent way too much time making that. Well, since we didn't have a regular Gas and Go this week, I figured we'd call an audible and talk a little college football. Since we have the two biggest games of the year coming up, I convinced Gas and Go Dyl to hop on and talk a little ball. Dyl, how are you? How was Christmas?
I'm doing well. The holidays have been going quite nice. Christmas was nice and peaceful, uneventful, which is, I think, how a 2020 Christmas ideally is. But college football is near and dear to my heart, so I'm happy to be doing this.
Have you enjoyed the break from our regular Gas and Go appearances?
It was a nice little break there for a week. Garrett hit us with the text on Sunday night, like production meeting tonight, where everyone kind of hesitated. Luckily, it was just an all crew chief joke.
Yeah, he's good at those. And all right, since we are a NASCAR podcast and I want to stay on brand a little bit here, you are famous for your helmet sticker awards during the NASCAR season. So can you give a bumper sticker award here to your favorite college team uniform? Either the best uniform or the team you want to see, like how Wood Brothers did a Virginia Tech car. You could go either way.
So, yeah, absolutely. To there's any new listeners here, just to fill you in from the podcast, we give out our bumper sticker awards each week. And
you think we're going to have a lot of people listening to this who don't listen to the podcast?
Maybe, Ryan. You never know. I just want to set some context. Mine are always awarded to the car that looks like the best college football jersey. Right. So we've had some bowl teams get them. Florida, who plays this afternoon, has gotten it. Indiana has gotten it. None of the Final Four teams have gotten, or actually Clemson just got one last week. So a few teams are out here already, but the one that I want to see most, and I'm going to give you two here. Color-wise, it's San Jose State. I love that like bright yellow that they have, almost kind of like UCLA. I would look nice on the car, kind of flying around with the Spartan logo, especially working in like a Spartan theme to that would be very cool. Another one, though, that I think would look great is, and this could maybe go into a little bit of Michael Jordan here, Carolina blue would look nice on a car. That's a nice color there. And if they did like a cool Carolina sky blue themed car with even, a Jordan logo, it doesn't have to be Carolina related, but that would look fresh. So those would be my two I most want to see on a car.
Do you want the Argyle with the North Carolina?
No, I do not. No, God, no Argyle.
Do North Carolina people like the Argyle, or
I feel like they probably do. That's one of those things that if your school does it, you love it. If it's another school, it's the dumbest thing ever.
And do you want the giant Tar Heel on the hood with the foot, or do you want the NC script logo?
Not the NC. I would take the foot. I don't know if they use the foot that much anymore, though, but I would also take their new little ram head that they have on some of their secondary logo spots with the giant horns that are spinning around. I like how they have worked that guy in. He's a cool guy.
I could see Mac Brown or Roy Williams at the Charlotte Motor Speedway unveiling
Mac Brown would fit in. Mac Brown would fit in perfectly on a track.
Well, I don't know if you're going to ask, but I'm going to give you my pick. I'm going Texas Longhorns. I think burnt orange and white, very crisp. You would see it right away and know right away that it's Texas, Texas, Texas. I think they have a good font style. You could put that right on the car. You know exactly what it is. So you'd have good brand recognition there. I don't think Texas needs the brand exposure, but that would be my pick.
I mean, like the Austin race is next to the campus. It'd be kind of cool to see a Texas car flying around in the Austin race this year. I mean, they don't need to go elsewhere where they have a track literally next door to them. So
yeah,
that would be a good spot for it.
We just happen to go with two Mac Brown football teams there.
Right. Both color related too.
All right, enough NASCAR talk. Let's get into some college football here. So the four teams in the playoffs, we had Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Let's just talk about the 4-team playoff. Obviously, it's going to change soon, but what's it going to change to? Do you have any ideas? Do you like the four teams? Where are you with all this?
No, I don't think anyone likes the four teams. Like, there's no way the NCAA even likes the four teams. So it's a matter of, when, not if. There's a lot of easy ways you can do it, right? The most common one, I think, is expanding it to 8. One that I've seen kind of floated around a few times, which I think would kind of keep like the initial mindset of the whole playoff intact of the top 4 teams, make it a 12 team and give those top 4 teams a bye and then work it in from there so that they can at least, you're in the top 4. So it's still kind of like the same accomplishment as it is right now, but you get the bye instead of just going into the playoffs right away. I think that would be the best way to do it.
Are people going to still care about the regular season though if 12 teams are getting in like that? That Florida LSU game is not going to matter.
I mean, I think it'll still matter to fans. Like, it might not matter as much as it does right now, where if you lose one game, you're done. But there's also examples, right, of like all these teams losing early on, and it still doesn't matter. So the regular season at this point, right, it's one loss and you're automatically out. For a lot of teams, 2 losses for everybody, and you're automatically out.
Unless
I think it would get a few more teams like at least involved at the end of the season. Would make the November and December games even better if there's more teams vying for a spot in this. Like, can you imagine if 20 teams are still alive with 5 weeks ago instead of the 6 that there are now?
But then you'd be caring more about like Texas A&M versus Georgia, and not Alabama. LSU wouldn't matter. I don't know. It would take away.
I think it would still. Season. It would still, those games would still matter, but it would shine new matchups into like the national spotlight, I think, which is what college football needs. Like, the clear issue right here is that's the 4 same teams. Like, that's what has made all of the hate, I think, like exponentiate, is that Alabama and Clemson are automatic every year. Ohio State's been in a few times, and, whatever to Notre Dame, it's usually, I guess, like Oklahoma, but it's just like it's not working. It's so boring right now. It can't get any more meaningless.
What do you think about the auto bids instead of just taking the top 8 or the top 12, but you give them out to the conferences? Do you like that better, or does it not really matter?
I love it. I love auto bids. There should be something in winning your conference, and like, why even have all these conferences? Why is there realignment into big conferences if it doesn't matter? If you win it, you should absolutely be in. And like the Power 5 teams should each get one. The highest group of 5 team or group of 6 team should always get one. And then that gets you at 6 teams right there. If you're filling into 8, maybe the best 2. If it's filling into 12, maybe it's 2 guaranteed to the group of 6, and you fill in from there however you want. But it gets a little bit more excitement going on in it.
All right. So one more hypothetical to run by you on the playoff. I read this on The Athletic. They said keep it at 4, but allow bowl season to happen first. So your bowls stay with your traditional conference tie-ins. You have the Pac-12 and the Big Ten going to the Rose Bowl. ACC goes to the Orange Bowl. Let those games play out, then pick your top 4. So then you have some matchups that kind of work themselves out, and then you go to your final 4 teams. And then it accomplishes 2 things where the bowls matter again, but you still keep a top 4 instead of letting 12 or 16 in like you seem to want to.
Yeah, no, I think that could be kind of cool. I think that, you probably have to get rid of a game in the regular season to make that happen in the time frame that they want to keep the season in.
I think you'd either go to 10 or you just get rid of the conference championship games.
Yeah.
Money grabs, and the neutral site games always stink anyway.
I don't mind the conference championship games. And I think it's get rid of we don't need 14 game seasons right now anymore. Get rid of the cupcake at the early on or something like that.
You don't like watching Alabama roll the Citadel on November 22nd or whatever?
Oh my God. The SEC late season cupcake is my arch nemesis. I hate that week.
They're really the only ones that do. I think Florida State still tries to pretend. Clemson does one too, it seems like.
Clemson's earned their right to do kind of whatever they want, but Florida State's still like, oh yeah, we're here, guys.
Yeah, we got our backpack.
Yeah.
All right, enough playoff talk. We got our 2 games, so let's jump into it. 4 p.m., January 1st, Rose Bowl at Dallas, Texas. Notre Dame against Alabama. Alabama's favored by 19.5. The over-under 65.5. What do you got for the people? Give us a winner here.
All right. I think the public mindset and what you're going to hear on Twitter is all about Notre Dame doesn't belong. They're a joke. Alabama's going to roll them. It's going to be
where this is going.
creepy.
I like where this is going.
And I'm going to tell you what, they are all right. Notre Dame might belong. I won't say go as far as say they don't belong. They had a great season. They, they beat Clemson without Lawrence. They got whooped by him the second time. They're fine to be in it, but there's just no chance that they make this a close game. Notre Dame is going to get steamrolled by Alabama, I think.
You couldn't see a sleepy Alabama team rolling in. Notre Dame's hyped up. They still remember 2012. Manti Te'o's on the sidelines.
You'll remember 2012. Yeah.
You don't think that's possible?
I do not think. Here's where Alabama gets sleepy. It's in the championship game because look, I got the scores here for the semifinals games the last few years, and when Alabama has time, it's just like They against Michigan State in 2016, 38-0. Next year against Washington, 24-7. Next year against Clemson, 24-6. Last year against Oklahoma, who is a team that's going to put up points, but it's still 45-34. It was a tight game. But
can you name any of the quarterbacks from any of those teams?
On the teams Alabama played?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that this kid at Notre Dame's like gonna in 5 years. I'm not going to be able to name him either.
Ian Book's good. Don't disrespect Ian Book.
I mean, Clemson had Trevor Lawrence in that 24-6 one, so
no, that was
wasn't that 2018?
No, that was Bryant. No, that was the Bryant kid.
Oh, it was. You're right. Yeah. But it's still like if they have time to set up their defense and run however they want to run that game, I mean, they're just going to stop them. And the other stats here, this is courtesy of my guy, RJ Bell. He's my favorite Vegas follow, at RJ in Vegas, shout out. But he tweeted out the Notre Dame stat lines in big games or big bowl games last 20 years, which 3 of these are from pre-2008. So, do whatever you want with that. I don't really think those matter. But in the last 20 years, straight up 0-6, against the spread 0-6, on average losing these games by 24 points, and on average losing to the spread by 17 points. No game has been within 9 points of the spread in a postseason game for Notre Dame, and a big one.
That's a lot of Charlie Weiss. That's a lot of Kyle Whitting, or not Kyle Whitting.
I mean, this is 2016 to Clemson or to Ohio State, and 2018 to Clemson. That 18 to Clemson one was a big whooping too. And then I don't know. I think that
they've had some stinkers on their resume. Here's the stat I pulled: Alabama has outscored their opponent in the first quarter in the last 4 semifinal games, 38-7. Notre Dame has to somehow find a touchdown in that first quarter and keep it.
They're going to come out of the first quarter down 21 points, and it's just going to be like, well, we all knew it was going to happen, and here it is happening. It's like that's going to be what Twitter is.
Yeah. Mac Jones only threw 4 interceptions this year. Notre Dame has to somehow create some turnovers. I don't see it happening either. Notre Dame also only had 1 defensive touchdown. They need some random weird stuff to happen to possibly pull this.
Yeah. And like what I like to look at too is like when these teams are late here in these finals, I think a big indication, and I'll get into this more in the next game because I think it's more true there, is I think margin of victory is such an important stat that like a lot of people don't give enough credit to. And if you look at some of these teams, some of the best teams like that Clemson team, when they beat Alabama 41-16 or whatever as underdogs, they were winning every game by like 35 points. The Jameis Winston years, every game by like 40 points. Notre Dame just like isn't blowing people out. Like they're winning games by 2 touchdowns. They're pulling out, wins against Syracuse and Boston College. Like they don't look that scary. And I think that Clemson game kind of confirmed that they really probably aren't that scary. It's just going to be like a little bit like if they were winning all these games by 40 against scrub teams, then fine, like throw them into the conversation, but they're just not like they're pulling out victories right now.
Yeah. And my final stat for Alabama, they're 19-11 in their last 30 games as 19-point favorites or more. So 19-11, 2-1 there. So it would seem to be Bama's going to have it. I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take Notre Dame in the points just for that very small chance that Ian Book and Brian Kelly are taking down the flag and they're got the roses in their mouth and we're headed to Miami just in case. But roll tide roll, I think Bama takes care of it easy. I'm looking for a backdoor cover.
Bama spread is my favorite of any of these games is to Bama to cover. I like the under a lot in this game too. I just don't think Notre Dame's going to score like at all. And then Alabama's not going to roll up, 60 on their own. It's 65.5 total is a lot of points that Alabama needs to score. So my final score for this, I got 38-10 Alabama.
All right, let's move on to the next one. 8 p.m. January 1st, we got the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana, Ohio State versus Clemson. Clemson's currently favored by 7.5. The over-under is 66.5. I cannot wait for this one. This is going to be the game of the year. What do you got?
Yeah, no, this is clearly the better matchup of the two. So this is the exciting one to look into. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm excited to see Ohio State in this again. I think it's a good team to be in the Final Four. I know they're, Ohio State and kind of boring that sense, but they only have been in it that first year when they won it with Cardell. And then when they got blown out 38-0 to Clemson a few years ago, like they haven't had that many chances. So I think that they're going to want to come out proving it a little bit, but I don't think they're going to want to prove it in terms of like the loss to Clemson. I don't think that matters in their head, but they need to be on the national stage. Ohio State needs to show up for the Big Ten to like have credibility in the future too. I mean, they've done nothing in these playoffs. So this is the Big Ten's huge, huge opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. And so Clemson is 4-1 in the last 5 semifinal games against the spread. They're 4-0 all time against Ohio State. Ohio State 7-1 against the spread as an underdog. The one loss was to Clemson though. So a lot of trends going towards each other, but
yeah.
So who do we got here? Someone's got to give. Yep.
Yeah, I think I like Clemson. It's 7.5. That half is a little iffy, but this is where, right, that margin of victory. This is where, like, I think that starts to pull into me of looking in how to differentiate these teams, and just like looking at Ohio State. Right, and this is weird because it's COVID. They had like a week off in between all of these games, but. Right. Indiana, they only won by 7. They blew out Michigan State. Northwestern only won by 12. Rutgers only won by, looks like 20. Penn State by 13. Like, those aren't big numbers. And then you look at Clemson. I mean, Notre Dame in the ACC championship by 25. Week before 35. Week before 45. And then you start to look at, the 2 games where they didn't have Trevor Lawrence is the one game where they win by only a touchdown, and then there they lose. All these other games are winning by like 40 on all these games. Like, that's where, to me, I look at these numbers, I look at the actual results, and I get that it can get blown out sometimes in the second half, but it makes me lean towards Clemson when I see things like that.
Trey Sermon doesn't worry you at all. He had a big game against Northwestern. Northwestern's defense is supposedly very good, 331 yards. Does that worry you at all?
Northwestern is a good defense. I mean, Ohio State still only scored 22, which Northwestern doesn't have a lot of points.
They could have got a touchdown at the end.
They could have got a touchdown at the end. Yeah, that is true. But I think that it does scare me a lot. And like, right, if Ohio State's going to show up, that's probably what's going to need to happen. Justin Fields or Jordan Fields looked like, I mean, he didn't even want to be on that field last week or against Northwestern. That was rough. So maybe that's what Clemson does. They just, kind of shut them down and make Fields beat them, kind of do a little Belichick trick there. Just all this time, they know that Fields probably isn't going to handle pressure, isn't going to step up if he does that against Northwestern. So, right, Dabo knows how to prepare in these games. And Ryan Day, he's never been in one. This is his first playoff. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing right now. And that's why it means more to Ohio State. Like, I looked because I wanted to see that, repeat. Was anyone even on Ohio State's team from that shellacking a few years ago? No, they have no coaches that are back. Like, all those players, they'd be maybe seniors by now, so maybe a couple of guys. But I don't think that revenge is a factor for Ohio State from that 38-31-0 beatdown. I think that they need to show up. This has to be a game in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter for the Big Ten to like continue to have respect.
And if Ohio State gets smacked, then they're officially in Pac-12. Big 12 territory, and the playoffs should just be an ACC, SEC invitational.
Literally, yeah. But they just got to do something. And I mean, I don't know. Clemson might come out and do kind of what Alabama does against Notre Dame, and it might just be steamrolling our way to a 5th straight matchup between Clemson and Alabama. I kind of hope it isn't. I'm an ACC guy, so I'll root for Clemson, I think, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing Clemson and Bama again, but seeing Ohio State against Bama would be interesting, at least.
I also think it'll be cool to like see Trevor Lawrence in his last game, compete in the championship too. That'll be a good little storyline to tie it all out.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to have to agree with you. I got Clemson 37, Ohio State 26, but I think Clemson rolls.
I have 35-24 Clemson.
Yeah, so doesn't tick the over, but it's right there. These are big over.
That'll be close.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both big. This game could definitely go over. I mean, if Ohio State's in it, it'll be higher scoring than if they're competing and it's a close game, I think it goes over. But if Clemson's kind of controlling, I think they want to keep it under and win it that way.
Yep. All right. So just to recap here, you like Bama. Bama's your favorite.
Yep.
I like Notre Dame a little bit, but that's more of just I don't know what I'm doing play. And then we both seem to like Clemson. So there you go. There you have it. It should be 2 awesome games. This is I do like the way that they set it up on New Year's, not New Year's Eve. Yes. Sit down, get a slice of pizza, get a right proper brewery beer.
Yep.
Enjoy the games.
Now, this will be a great little New Year's Day to, get us going into 2021. So I'm hoping for 2 good matchups.
Yep. And we'll be back with a fresh Gas and Go next week with our guy, Corey LaJoy, an awesome interview. And if this gets more than 10 views, maybe we'll do a championship preview.
Maybe. We'll see.